Lake Marine Commission to order this Tuesday, December 18th, 2018. I would ask everyone to please stand. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance and we'll have the invocation. So please bow your heads for the invocation. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings you've bestowed on this community. And as we gather here in public service to our town and its citizens, we humbly ask for your divine guidance and your wisdom to help us govern effectively, and to do what serves the greater good and the best interest of our citizens, as well as to be good stewards and guardians of this beautiful place we call home. In your name, we humbly ask these things. Amen. Amen. All right, let's say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. We'll begin our meeting. First of all, before we even approve the agenda, let me say I apologize. Apparently did not get the memo about the red sweater vest.
Maybe that's all the time we'll have to hear that tonight.
Maybe one more time.
That memo was not sent to you.
That's just one more thing. All right, let me make sure I'm speaking in the mic now. So, it's a fairly brief agenda tonight, but first thing we always do is to approve the agenda, and I think the commissioners have the agenda in front of them. Are there any changes or revisions anyone wants to recommend?
Yes, sir. There's nothing wrong with the actual minutes, but because of some notes in the minutes, we need to move item 5C from the consent agenda to new business.
5C?
Correct.
Okay. To new business?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Would you put it first or last or anyone?
Doesn't matter to me.
Well, let's just take it up first.
Okay.
All right. We'll make that A and relabel the rest then. So that'll be 6A. 6A.
No.
All right, are there any other changes, revisions, anybody else have? Stephen, are you okay with that one change, Ben? Is that what you have? Okay, so all those, a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make the motion to adopt the agenda with the change listed.
Commissioner Cameron makes a motion, a second. Commissioner Moore, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, first item on the agenda is a public forum. I don't see the list, but barely could see. Is there anyone here that would like to address the commission here? There being none, I'll go ahead and close the public forum and move on then to the consent agenda. You just heard one of the three items has been removed for discussion. The two remaining items are the adoption of the minutes of the September 11th regular meeting of the Marine Commission, and then secondly, the 2019 meeting schedule. So if there a motion then to adopt the consent agenda?
Go ahead.
So
as amended?
So moved as amended.
So moved as amended. Stephen made the motion. Bob, you want to second it? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that would bring us then to item 6, which is the new business, and we agreed to move this item from the consent order up first, which is the boat slip leasing policy. There is an exhibit in our packet, and Stephen, you asked that to be moved. What could you bring us the issues then?
During our minutes on the discussion of the boat slip leasing policy back in September, the board discussed combining the third priority from the old list with commercial operators providing marine mechanical services. Now, we never decided upon that, but the end result was Commissioner Cameron made a motion to table the whole item, the policy, and defer to the LAB for further review. Prior to this meeting, I asked Commissioner Kilby, and he said that they did not talk about that yesterday, I believe. So on our policy that as presented in item number 3, we need to decide and either add commercial marine mechanical services to it or not before we adopt the policy.
And since it hadn't gone to the LAB for their consideration, Dean, is that correct?
not this one thing being added.
Do we need to do that before we take a position? Do we want to, or are we prepared to just go ahead? I mean, I think that's,
I think we can go ahead.
we can go ahead, you think? Good.
Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and do it.
All right. So you've heard the either-or option, yes or no. Does anybody have an opinion about then what we should do? Should we add it?
I felt the consensus last time was pretty much in favor of it.
I thought.
It's just that we never made a motion to make it that way, so.
If we feel comfortable, would you want to make that motion?
Oh, sure. I make a motion that we adopt the boat slip leasing policy as revised with the amendment to paragraph A, sub 3. Third preference will be given to non-residents and commercial marine mechanical service providers.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Cameron. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to our second item of new business, which is a request from Michael Lewis to waive the $100 late fee for his 2019 lake commercial license here. So here again, let's see. This is a summary as on page 13, it appears. And Dean, you are identified as the authority on this. You have some comment to make about this?
Just to give you, this was brought up before the LAB last night, and the LAB voted to uphold the town regulations and enforce the $100 fee in this case.
Okay.
And it was a unanimous vote.
And part of the reason, if I can speak to that, was there's been others that have had the same issue, and they've all complied with the $100.
And to be fair, there's actually 10 this year that's in the model that have paid their $100 late fee to continue being in the model.
To be continued.
If they're late, how long do they have to pay the $100 fee? Is that, let's say they were on the model last year?
They have to pay it prior to getting their commercial application. They have to pay it with their commercial
Okay,
application
but they can do that up till when?
to the day that they actually apply for
Okay,
it.
so if they hadn't paid the fee, I'm just asking because I know of another case, so I'm just.
Okay,
So if they were on last year's model,
right,
they missed the time,
right.
they would still be in the model, they would still be able to make an
No.
application now.
No, as of November 1st, they are not in the model.
Okay, but the late fee, they're allowed to pay after November 1st, right?
If there's still room in the model for them to come back in. They lose complete seniority,
Okay,
so they drop to the bottom.
okay,
And then to come back in, it's just whenever they want to come back in. If the model's full, then they have to go through the Lake Advisory Board and through this Marine Commission to get approval for them to either expand the model or not.
okay. I'm just trying to clarify.
In the situation here that we're dealing with, Mr. Lewis actually paid this, he came in the second day, and he had his $45 application fee. So he was there and got into the model before it was full, so he's in the model.
Right.
But he's at the he's at the backside.
I just know of another case that's not.
Well, to kind of give you an example that we'll go over here in a minute with the other model, the livery rental category is full right now according to the model. So if somebody else came in, a John Doe came in today and said, well, I was late, here's my $100, they don't fit into that category. So then they have to go through the process to go through the LAB and through y'all. In Mr. Lewis's case, there's actually room for him to fit back into the model.
And he's only a day late anyway.
Right, right.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
for clarifying that.
Yes, sir.
Dean,
You're going to get speak.
some comment that I've heard, some of the issues have related to folks at least saying they hadn't received a notice for what reason or another.
Right.
I know in one case, a person got in apparently after the original, and then, so there was some question as to whether their name actually got put in the mailing list roster that went out and so forth. Because this is such a serious issue with people in their boats. I hope that we are making every effort as these things arise during the year, just to make sure that people are on that mailing list, so there's a complete list at the end of the year, and we're not missing anybody just by some strange circumstance.
And I'll follow up on that with Linda Ward that does all the mailings of this stuff, handles that into that, and I'll see that there's not a way that we can't tighten that aspect of this up.
Yeah, I think in one case, a person had moved and the address didn't get updated in the system, even though we may have known that that was the case.
Right.
There are other things like that, so it's a serious thing, and I assume we're not taking any of that lightly, and then.
Right.
I heard a comment made during all these different discussions that we're not required to send out the renewal. Is that in the guidelines that we don't have to send out that renewal?
I don't know that I've ever read that anywhere that says.
Well, if it is in the guidelines, then we probably should change it, because I think it would be, as important as this is, I think that we should make sure.
Right. I don't know that there's a guideline that exists in writing, but I will definitely start searching and seeing if there's something that says that, of how the mailings and renewals go.
And here's how that, in my business, we get situations like this with payments or renewals.
Right.
And what the guideline is if we have a copy of that renewal on our system, then we assume it went out.
Right.
And if it didn't get there, post office, something like that, we don't take the responsibility for that. So then in this situation, if we have record that went out, then those people, in my opinion, have a case.
Right.
Maybe, but of course.
Kind of way it was explained to me, and this was verbally back, when I first started, they said it's similar to the state sending you a renewal on your tag. They make efforts to get it out there, but if you don't receive it, still not their problem. If you've moved or if something changed, your tag goes dead, you're still responsible for getting your tag replaced. Now, that was just the way it was verbally explained to me, but that's why I say I can't go back and say I've actually read anything that says that specific.
I would say, considering the amount of revenue that generates for the town, that it would behoove us to provide those reminders.
Right.
Instead of losing the business.
Right.
Off and on.
Well, just prior to a couple years ago, it's just been within the past couple of years that we've even started allowing people into the model after November 1st. This board here said, let's let them in, but it's going to cost them $100 fee to get in. But prior to that, if you wasn't here by November 1st, you didn't even get into the model that entire year.
Well, so if you get an application December the 15th and the model's full, what would prevent you from holding that application on file? And because we do allow, if somebody fails to pay in March or April, then that position goes to somebody else that's waiting. So why not keep that list of folks waiting?
That could.
Because I believe we've had that instance where 1 or 2 permits weren't paid for, didn't we?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we talked about making them, get them by, tax day.
Dean, why don't you and I take this discussion and come up with some guidelines?
Okay.
And just to add to that, Dean is in the process of studying the model to see if some changes need to be made there, because we're becoming aware that maybe it's not as accurate as we thought maybe that it was in determining density.
It's time to check it out.
Yeah, I think the model's going to go through, this is kind of off side note, but I think the model's going to go through an overhaul this year. There's a lot of things that, and maybe it's because the model's getting full, we're starting to notice things that we didn't notice before because it was loose, we had plenty of room, but through the LAB and stuff, we've talked that we're going to look into this model and to all aspects of it this year and try to get some recommendations in place to better this model for the town.
It's always good to review and update every 5 years or 4 years and say, okay, we want to review our process and see if we're doing this correctly.
Right.
But before I vote on this issue, I'd like to hear from Mr. Lewis
Yeah, mayor's going to let him.
Well, go ahead, Mr. Lewis, if you'd like to say where we welcome that, you please come up and...
My name is Michael Lewis. I've guided on this lake for 22 years, and I've been here for 57 years. 6 days after I was born, I came to Rutherford County. Back when I was a little boy, you didn't have to have a permit to go out on Lake Lure, and there were a lot of different things that have changed, and I welcome the change. I applaud you because we don't have crazy people out here on Saturdays and Sundays drinking beer and raising cane, call it, you know what I'm talking about. There are things that some people don't like about some of the things, but those are things that can be addressed. I have never received an email or a letter or anything stating that if I had not had my paperwork here by November 1st, there was a fee. That has never, and I thought before you could penalize someone, they had to know they could going to be penalized. The second and the most important thing is I was on my way here that day. I don't know if any of you know it, but I went through cancer. When I went to my VA doctor that morning, she saw my hand. I have degenerative spine damage, and my arm was on fire at night, and I rub it till it bleeds, not knowing it. When she saw this, she ordered an emergency MRI right there. Now, if you were a regular doctor, you would be coming back in 3 days to get that MRI, but I was put on stat. My phone, everything was taken from me. I was put in a little robe and sat in a room for 4 hours before I got my MRI, but I got my MRI. I could not get here that day, guys. Impossible. I was here the next morning, first thing. That's why I'm asking to waive the $100. I didn't forget it. I didn't not do it. I've been the longest running guide service on this lake for the last 22 years. I don't make very much money doing it. I do it for the love of the families and the kids. And truthfully, that $100 makes a huge difference. I don't think I broke even last year from the number of fishing trips and the number of rains. And I don't ever pick up the phone and call on March 15th and say, listen, y'all said the lake's going to be full. I've got clients waiting. But nope, the lake's not going to be full until 3 or 4 or 5 more weeks from now. Those things happen too. I never say a word. This right here is $100, and I understand principle. I'm not trying to go against it, but this medical emergency I could not control. And that's the only reason I'm asking for that to be waived. Thank you.
That was on the first model.
Yes, sir.
I will tell you that we did not have those details yesterday in the LAB meeting. I will also, if you look at Michael's application, he actually filled that application out on 10/24/18. And we did not have these details yesterday in the LAB meeting.
I couldn't get here. I was working with my vehicle that has no windshield now.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions, was whether or not there were any matters of extenuation or mitigating circumstances that prevented you from being here, and it sounds like there were. So, thank you.
Okay, is there any other comment or discussion about that before we take an action on this? Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we waive the fee.
Okay. There's a motion on the table to waive the fee. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Kilby. All right, further discussion.
I am very often against exceptions to the rules. I do believe, though, in this case, that there are some very extenuating factors and mitigating circumstances. I will support this motion.
Any other comment? If there's none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Dean, I hate to ask you, but you're again up on the on this next item, which is towing restrictions for fishing guide permits. Again, it's in our packets here. Trying to get the page number.
Page
19. Right, page 19.
This came before the LAB. It's been there two or three times. Each time the LAB has taken up this particular subject, the talk goes around the table and it still comes back to saying that they feel like we need to stick with what our regulations are now and to not allow the commercial fishing guide to be able to tow. And again, that was a motion and unanimous decision amongst the board.
Did something come up, a problem anywhere, or an incident that would, that would have caused this to come to the surface?
We had a fishing guide that would get 2 permits each year. He'd come in and buy.
I remember when he came and we talked about it. I mean, was there any incident on the lake that, that caused this to become an issue again?
No.
This is just a continuation of.
Last year, I think it was just given because he had already gotten the permit and paid for it.
Right.
And it was given as a, I don't know, special privilege for the year, but was to be reevaluated. And when it was brought back to the LAB, they didn't have any specific reason of why that shouldn't happen other than the problems that it could present with commercial, allowing the commercial category to tow and the enforcement of those. They basically just decided that they thought it was muddy in the waters and that the rules were working the way they were working and felt that it needed to stay the same.
Yeah.
Is there a specific category for the fishing guide?
There is.
So it's identified?
Yes.
Registration?
10 boats in 8 or 10?
I think there's 7 fishing guide.
How many, what's the allowance?
The model.
The model?
For how many will it hold?
Yeah. Not that that's important, but
Right. Fishing guide service can hold, let's see, there's 2.
You got 2.2 remaining.
Right.
I don't know how
And
many.
then there's 5, so it'll hold 7.
So I remember the discussion, I happened to be at that, 1 or 2 LAB meetings where that came up, and it was a whole new issue to me. And so as I recall, the background of that was, the concern originally was, we don't want folks driving a boat, pulling a skier or a tuber, who are not real experienced at driving a boat under those conditions. And that because we have so many vacation rental boats, commercial licensed boats, that we clearly didn't want people that just show up here for a weekend, rent a boat, and get out there with their kids racing up and down the lake when they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
So that was really, as I recall, the genesis of this. And I think the discussion was, well, if there's any boaters on that lake who should be knowledgeable about operating a boat on the lake and spend more time on a lake than anyone, it's the guides.
Right.
And so I think the argument was, well, if we're going to let everyone else operate a boat, wouldn't a fishing guide wouldn't they be among the most qualified? I don't know. I mean, that's what I remember the discussion to be, and if there's a reason why not, then maybe, I didn't hear that come up.
in this situation, it was a situation where a guide had been sold 2 permits, which was not permitted, which was not permitted. So that's what
Brought this on, and instead of issuing 2 permits, you would just have a permit, and that permit to the guide would allow them to be a fishing guide and operate.
Well, taking it back further than that, I think correct me if I'm wrong here, Dean, if I'm not remembering this correctly, but initially was, we didn't, if you might have been out there enforcing or somebody else, and if it was a commercial sticker, they said, well, they won't know whether it's a fishing guide or a, or just someone renting a boat while they're on vacation. But it seemed like a clear or a better way to address that would be having some identification, some way to identify it so that you could easily tell if it's if this one would be one of the fishing guides that is going.
Right, I mean, we have.
Am I remembering that correctly?
You are, but that could probably be corrected by issuing them a commercial permit with an X on it. If it's a CM and it has an X on it, that means they can tow, see? No, if it has the X, they cannot tow.
Yeah.
So they would be giving them a permit that just says CM, and there wouldn't be the X next to
Yeah,
it.
like the camps or Electric Adventures or
Right,
something like
correct.
those folks have, yeah.
But the regulation right now prohibits the towing by fishing guides
Yeah.
as a commercial class, and also the dual permitting.
Correct.
So it's two-pronged problem there.
Well-
And consistently, the LAB has recommended against dual permitting, and now they're recommending emphatically against fishing guides towing, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, the latest one here is they're electing to stay with the regulations that the town has now that says that they can't tow.
Okay, I would want to recognize somebody in the audience that
Okay.
who's the president of the Lakefront Property Owners Association. I think they would have some standing in this issue.
Okay.
Esther, you have some comments to make on this?
I'm just remembering some of the conversation that happened at the Lake Advisory Board meetings, and one of the things that I think is slipping Dean's mind is that the fishing guides get a significant discount on their permit because they're deemed to use fewer lake hours that are usually in the early morning or in the evening, and that if they were then also towing, it would significantly change the lake hours that they might use.
Okay.
That was another.
Are they trying to do this to make money? Is that what they're trying to do, Dan? For profit or just for their family?
Just for their family.
Because I had two boats. I had one commercial boat. Now, this is silly, because it's got $1 million liability policy on it, and I had to take it home, pick up my little boat with the $300,000 policy, bring it back, put my boy in it, and then I could pull him around the lake.
That's the way,
And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think I'm not gonna pull people around out there
Well.
to make money.
There you go.
I'm not gonna do it. I would, my boy now, and I can understand him for that.
now this was
If
for
you're trying to
personal.
do it for money,
Yeah.
or
This is
just personal,
Personal.
guys, I can tell you right now, I can drive a boat, probably back a boat better than anybody in this county.
Yeah, this situation, Michael,
There's,
Michael.
it's different.
yeah, this situation, Michael, was of a boat owner with only one boat.
I know. That's what you talking about.
And I'd forgotten that part, yeah, he was only wanting to tow his family, right? So then you have to make, how do we determine if
Well,
that's...
we can't make a rule for everything.
Yeah.
All right, so we've had a good discussion. If there's anything new to add, if not, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we support the Lake Advisory Board and stay with the policy as it's written.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Cameron. We have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Kilby. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, that moves us on to the next item on the new business agenda, which is the approval of the 2019 lake commercial licenses. And again, Dean, I see the staff.
You started out okay, but by now you need a haircut.
Okay, in your packet, you got the, what I always call the green sheet, the fold-out green sheet. Basically, this sheet's the one I fill out each year to show you everybody as how they fit in the model. Starting off on the left side starts where they are located in the model, their priority order. Then just the center of the page, it gives you a number of how many boats each one of them want for each category or have applied for. The ones that are in that kind of tan color are people that are currently under concession with the town. The very far right column, all the way over, is what each company is paying, including their application fees. And you can take that to the last page of that fold out. It gives you the number of revenue being generated on that right-hand side. Below it in yellow in the red writing is the revenue that was generated last year. Coming back to the center of the page, in the yellow, totals for 2019 gives you the maximum, or what we have sold thus far this year in each category. And just below it shows you what we are ending the year with for 2018. All the ones listed down below that across the page are the ones who failed to renew this year. I don't know what the reasoning of it is. It's just people who did not either remember or not planning on being in the 2019 commercial model. All the green highlighted area with some yellow in it, that's just admin stuff that we have to make sure is done before we actually issue the permit. A lot of times somebody will not have their insurance ready or something like that, or they're waiting for approval before they renew their insurance or whatever have you. That's just housekeeping stuff. And everybody that has applied thus far this year is in the model. Okay, every application that we have received made it into the model. The model did not deny anybody. If you'll fold those, is there any questions on those pages? Okay, if you'll fold the page over to the next page, it's page 21. This is just a breakdown, and we usually go by this far right-hand column showing the summer hours remaining for the year. And shows towed water activities. We could hold one more boat. We could hold one more tour boat. We could hold 10 less than 10 horsepower livery. We are maxed out on greater than 10 horsepower. Fishing guides, we could hold 2 more. And service boats, we could hold 1 more. And we can hold 108 more non-motorized boats, is the way the model balances out for the year. I guess I'll wait for a motion before I mention what I talked about last night. You think, John? Let this part get out of here? Okay, that's all I've got, unless y'all have got other questions on the model.
I noticed you still got David Butts as the contact for the Lilcrest. Of course, he's gone, long gone. And another one on the second page, you got John Garce, and that's actually Garl. So you want the right contact name there if you did need to contact him for some reason. Okay. I noticed that the lodge on Lake Lure is one of the ones that did not renew, and that's why you have 1 extra tour boat allocation. What kind of thought has been given if Lake Lure Tours or Fumbling Ball came in and asked for an additional tour boat? Of course, that would amend their concession agreement, but the space is there. Something you would opt for, possibly, or recommend?
Yeah, to me, it's first come, first serve. If they come in and they want the slip. Now, from this point on, motorized will have to go through LAB, through Marine Commission. I can't authorize that. I can authorize the non-motorized commercial because there's such an abundance. But if anybody comes in today and says, hey, I need that tour boat or I need a ski boat, that's got to come through the process through you guys. Even though there's room for 1 more or whatever, it still has to come through you guys.
And we had a concession agreement with them. I guess they're just not going to go through it.
Part of the problem with them is they'll put somebody in charge of their boats and stuff, and 2 weeks later they got them working somewhere else at the equestrian, and then there's somebody else. I can't never get anybody there that I can get a relationship with and get to know what's going on. It's really hard.
That's
Thank you.
a lot of hours, lake hours that are allocated to a tour boat. If you had someone who came along who wanted a livery type boat or some other kind of boat, could those hours be allocated to them since apparently the lodge looks like they're not gonna take theirs?
They could be at your discretion.
Okay.
And I've got a way, and I'll explain something to you here in just a minute after we get through this, that of how I can actually determine how many hours that translates to another boat,
Yeah.
to another classification.
You just pull it out of one and add it into another?
Yeah, but it's kind of got a ratio to it. Some boats use more hours than others. And
Okay.
Okay, so it was a good discussion. There anything else? And if not, I guess we
I'm good.
entertain motion, if we need that, to adopt this list.
I'll make the motion that we adopt the schedule and list of permitted boats for the year coming up.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Weber. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, and Dean, the final, you have something else on this?
Can I have a little discussion
Yeah.
time here? Is that?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
We've got a meeting on the other side.
All right, good luck.
If I could just open up a short
Yeah.
discussion here. If you go back to the page 21 where it's laid sideways on your paper.
Yep.
The commercial boat model was created, and in all fairness, it has given some good guidelines about the size of our lake, how many acres we have, and how this is broken up and used. This model was I don't even know when it was created. It was way before me. I was just taught how to load the model and use it. Now we're getting to a point that the model is full, or is very close to being full. Well, when I have to, each year when I take all these applications in, upwards of 60 applications, it's all written in Excel spreadsheet. And there's like 60 Excel spreadsheets. You have to pull sheets out, put sheets in, relink everything. It's a mess, and it's a lot of staff hours to come up with something I find a simpler way of doing. What I like to do is stop loading that model every year. I've came up with what the model says is a full lake right now, and that's even looking at on the right-hand column, you're seeing what's left. Well, in towed water activities, the model says we can hold 5 boats. Tours, we can hold 7. Livery horsepower less than 10, we can hold 12. Livery greater than 10, we can hold 39. Fishing guides, we can hold 7. Service boats, we can hold 11. And non-motorized, we can hold 318. So my way of thinking about this is we have a grand total here. Why not just sell that many permits per year instead of loading this model that this one page right here that you see is the only thing that you guys have ever seen on the model, but it takes me upwards of 40 hours to get this model loaded to tell me something that it's already telling me right here in numbers. And to Mr. Moore's question a while ago about the equative hours, I did it on just one of them because I was doing it real quick right before I came in here. It's like if we have 12, we can hold 12 less than 10 horsepower boats on the lake. Well, I equated the hours to over 10, and it comes up to 2.3 boats. So if I were to take hours out of the less than 10 horsepower, I would remove 2.3 boats to create one boat greater than 10 horsepower. And I can do that method with any of these categories, like you were saying with a tour boat. I can look at what a tour boat hour uses, and then what a livery above 10 or a service or whatever, and I can equate and say if we take a tour boat out, that may give us 4 livery boats or whatever, but that math is pretty easy to do.
Yeah, it sounds like it should be easy. I'm all for that.
And so what I'd like to do is that being one of the steps in the revamp of this lake commercial model. We're also going to do some studies this year on how many hours these boats are actually being used. I'm going to get some volunteers that are going to actually monitor their boats, how long they're being used and stuff, because some of these hours are not realistic. And that's on the commercial side, and that's also on the residential side. You know, I'm going to use you, Mr. Kelby, as a guinea pig.
You want me to give you the numbers?
Yes, yes.
So I have 3 boats, so I buy 3 boat permits. have my pontoon boat, my nautique, and my little grandson's bass boat. I've used a tank and a half of gas in my pontoon this year. My ski boat went from the boat trailer to the boat lift, has not seen, touched the water again. My bass boat may have used 3 hours, and I have 3 permits.
Sound like you need some more permits.
So that's the fallacy of, in my opinion, of saying just because there's a permit.
Yeah, right.
But, and never, 2 times that I can remember in 27 years, has there been more than one of my boats out at the same time. And that was 2 times when the kids were younger, my sons, and they brought a couple with them to go to the fireworks. So I think we're limiting that by a number of boat permits, which really is not anywhere near accurate as to what really the usage
We have the
is.
same thing going on at our house. We've got 2 boats that never been out at the same time.
Right.
I've got one boat permit, and that was used once this year, so about 3 hours.
So we all agree this really needs some looking into, and we're gonna make some big headway on it this year and get some more accurate numbers together to bring back before you guys, probably toward the fall of the year, before we get into the next season. But this is just one of the pieces here that, you know, I just kind of disagree with going in and spending man hours of loading something when the numbers are right here. You don't sell no more than these unless you guys approve it to be.
Do we need a motion for this, or we just ask Dean to come up with an alternative?
Yeah, I'd recommend you study, continue to study
and
provide
and come up with you know, with your recommendation, and we can look at it and discuss it at that point.
Okay.
Okay, good. So, David?
You can add me to your study if you want me to help.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dave.
Good news. All right, Dean.
Can I mention one more thing? I want to keep putting this out here. Still, we still have a problem with people that have commercial boat permits that are renting slips in different places on the lake, that are using those boats, that don't live in the town of Lake Lure, and are using those boats as rental, daily, hourly, weekly boat rentals. And I really think we got to get a handle on that.
I think at the very minimum, they should be at the bottom of the priority.
Well,
Yes.
If we allow them at all.
I think they're using our lake.
Yeah.
They don't live here, they don't pay any taxes,
Right.
and they're using our lake as a profit center to make money by using Facebook and things like that. And I just don't think that's what the way it's supposed to be done. So Dean, I've expressed that to Dean a number of different times. I think
Include that in
a way to look at that, Dean, from my opinion, is a separate category for vacation rental boats, where a boat has to be titled and state licensed to the same people whose name's on the deed at the house.
Okay.
That's just, if I'm looking for a solution, that would be what I would say would be a solution.
Well, John, I plan on pulling you in on quite a bit of this process too.
So is there, based on what Commissioner Kilby just said, is there a way to, from your current model, to pull out those that fit the category of what he's saying?
We know who they are.
Yes,
Well, you know all of them. I mean, there's none possibly.
We know the ones we know, I'm not
Well,
going to
I'm saying
say.
there may be others, and that's one, is there a way to identify those
there is.
from your current model and information?
Yes, we can go
Okay.
back through the applications.
Yeah.
All right.
That's not being unfair to anybody, that's being fair to the citizens of our town.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a good point. If you wait one, we have the last one coming up now. This is non-motorized vessel stickers, and this starts on page 22 of our packet. It's a couple of images then of the proposed stickers, Dean, so.
Okay, last night, this went back through the LAB, and so page 24, the second sticker is the sticker that the LAB chose that they would like to go with. However, we're looking at removing all the red lettering, talking with the vinyl company that makes the stickers. They say that the red is an extra cost to make the sticker, and it will not stand up to the UV rays. It's going to bleach out. And our idea with this sticker is to get these on all the non-motorized vessels, handing them out with their permits, and also having them on the police boat. When the police boat stops somebody and addresses any issues or talks to them about whatever is going on, they can make sure a sticker's on there, and if there's not, they have one that they can get put on that vessel at that time, and these stickers will just stay on the vessel year-round.
Why can you not just change the red lettering to black lettering?
That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. Yeah, I'm sorry, I messed up on that. That was, we had talked about the red lettering to highlight some stuff, but it's kind of going to bite us, so we're going to just, everything will be black and white.
And I think it's a good idea to have them with you, and that way, if not, just stand there and say,
Right.
put it on. Yeah.
Right, and this way, maybe, hopefully, once we get these things out there, then we're not having to keep making orders of these every year. If we can get enough extra that we can just kind of make sure they keep them on there, and then they'll still get their Lake Lure permit, whatever color it is for that year. They'll have to replace them each year, but this one here, we're looking to be just a permanent sticker on the non-motorized vessel.
I've always liked this idea. Now, when you got this talk, well, I didn't know, well, there it is.
Right.
What the hell, you know?
Right. And so we'll be looking to get these made. I think Gary Johnson last night said he had somebody who wanted to price this, but we'll be getting them to market for price and then getting them made as quick as I can.
So you're looking for a motion then from us to
Yes, sir.
adopt this particular decal?
Yeah, it would be this decal, but all the red lettering would be black.
I make a motion that we approve the decal on page 24 with the red lettering being changed to black.
Okay, we have a motion, have a second?
I'll second it.
All right.
One thing I'd like to add to that is just please get the highest quality as you can, because water wears on this stuff.
Yeah.
No matter how good it is, you're still gonna have issues, so.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess the plan is to mail these out.
We're going to try to give as many of them out with their permits as they can. And if we need to mail some out, we can, but also I'm going to have a stack on the police boat that's addressing each one of them they come in contact with.
Leave a stack at the front desk, have a stack at the marina and at Roman Bar. And
How many extras does this council want to advise? I'm thinking you're gonna need a couple hundred extra.
oh yeah, you need much extra because people will change their boats out. They'll get skin up.
Yeah, just wanna make sure you got enough to do exactly what they're talking about, leave them at all these locations.
Yeah, I would rather make a big order now and
Get them cheaper.
be able, get them cheaper now and not have to worry about going back to print for a while.
If it's supposed to go on every non-motorized vessel, including the stand-up paddle boards, all that stuff, yeah, I'd say 2,500 easy.
Right.
So,
And the way they do that vinyl is you buy it by the yard, and it's how many stickers they can put on there, so we probably get a pretty good deal getting that first buy-in.
all right, so we had the motion, and a second, I don't think we voted on this.
Yeah, we were discussing, yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and vote on this. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. And that, gentlemen, brings us to the end of our...
May I say something?
Yes, sir.
Real quick, I think one of the advisory boards that just met, I read the minutes from that board meeting. And in that board meeting, there was a discussion about what the Lake Operations Director actually does. There were some questions about it. They didn't know, they weren't aware. It didn't seem like a lot. What you saw here was just the tip of the iceberg of what Dean Gibbons does for this town. And if we talk about creating a new department or merging departments, whoever that director is of that department, needs to be someone with his knowledge, because it's critical to this town. So I just want to say that, just say thanks, Dean, for the job you do for this town.
Thank you very much.
Good,
Thank you, guys.
All right, makes a motion that we adjourn. Oh, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Moore, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Good. Finish. Thank you, Dean. A few minutes early, thanks.
Thanks, Dean.
Parks minutes that
Dean?